Hi, my name is Marcy Stedman. I want to thank you for choosing to invest some time with me today. This is being recorded as a visual, but also as an audio book. So the reason I wanted to put this together is I was introduced about 24 years ago to working from home, back when I was 25 living in Alberta, Canada. I'm now 49 and I'm married and I live just south of Sydney, Australia. I'm a Canadian born and raised. I'm also an American citizen through birthrights, and I'm also down here living in Australia for the last 16 years. So the reason I wanted to put this together is sometimes when you have a lot of experience, you forget what others could access from that. And I just want to give you a little bit about my story. I'm from a rural town, a small town of 1,000 people in east central Alberta, a little town called Castor, about 3.5 hours northeast of Calgary and southeast of Edmonton. And the fact is, I was at a normal upbringing. I guess there's nothing really normal about anybody's upbringing. We're all different, but my dad was a school principal. My mom was a nurse in town. There are 32 kids in my graduation class, and they're still all alive from kindergarten to grade 12, even though we're all 50 years old now almost. But really a small farming community out there in rural Canada. And I was really learning as a child on how important it was to be tenacious and to be flexible and really that art of being resilient. And I've got a big heart for rural Australia. I've got a big heart for people in general and helping people realize some abilities that we all have to create a life by design. So let me give you my background. After high school, I went to school. I learned pharmacy. I didn't know if I wanted to go to university or not because I just wasn't sure if I wanted to invest, 4 or 5 years into a degree. So I went to college and I became a pharmacy tech. It was probably a blessing and a curse because I was actually too smart to do my job. I was really dissatisfied, so that's what pushed me out of that job after about 7 years. And I got introduced to business. Back in November 1990, somebody I knew from the day I was born introduced me to one of those multi-level marketing companies. I'd never in my life met anybody making any decent money working from home. I was looking for a change. I was 25. I wanted to travel. I had hopes and dreams and common sense. And in all honesty, if I look back there, I didn't have a lot of education to evaluate, or business education, to evaluate what should or shouldn't be looking for in a company. But I ended up working with that company for 14 years. I actually worked in 14 countries. And I helped them open up 11 countries. I became Canada's top producer for 9 years, and I've been spoken as one of the most experienced people in the world in the work-from-home industry. That was a multi-level marketing company. I left that industry 10 years ago. I learned a lot, I earned a lot, I met a lot of people. I really saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and the horrific of that industry. So unfortunately, I've come full circle. I don't endorse the industry. I don't think it's a long-standing platform for people. But I will never forget on how grateful I am for what I learned. And this is coming from somebody who was a good, strong six-figure income earner for a very long time. So the purpose of this audio/presentation is really to share with you, wherever you're at in your life, how could you use what you're doing now to bring a greater understanding and value to your life, with some tenacious skill sets, some coachability, and really some platforms that might be needed to help you. A key thing I learned in living in rural Alberta, whether it's rural Alberta, rural Australia, wherever you might be hearing this, is often when you're in a very small town or a region, especially when a farming area, you get naturally conditioned to be conditioned to that's the way it is. Or it's like your own mental prison gets created, even though statistically some of the best business people in the world have been birthed out of small towns. It amazes me on how many people get trapped into this thinking that that's where they have to live or that's where they have to be or work or earn money from. And yes, at times we do have to live where we are. And I love rural Alberta, rural Australia. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing and my passion to be so deep to make a difference in those areas. But I'd like to invite you into a slightly different paradigm. What would it be like if you could be introduced to a business model or a different concept than you might be doing right now, whether you're the local teacher, the doctor, the nurse, the student, the local checkout girl at the local shop, whatever it might be, that caused you to look outside the square? What would you have to be doing, being, or thinking that would have you bring more value to your life, more fulfillment, by simply looking outside the square. So these are some things that I've learned over the years, and I created a training over 20 years ago called The Secrets of Tenacity. I was labeled as the most tenacious girl in the world, and in the work-from-home industry back in the early to mid-90s. And that's another story in itself, but I'm really one of the people out there that pioneered the world in the work-from-home industry well before the internet. So as a key rule, it's important to have a burning desire and willingness to work. It's not important, it's critical. And it's critical to use those skill sets to create a life by design. And often people will come to me and they might be interested in the business I'm working. They'll say, yes, I'm coachable. And I'll say, okay, well, let's do this. They'll say, no, I already do it this way. And I say, well, listen, in order for us to have this work and for you to learn this trade that I teach, we need to learn. So yes, being coachable, and old dogs can learn new tricks. The question is, does somebody want to learn a new trade or learn something to run in alignment to what they're already doing? So it's important to be very coachable. Now let's get clear. Life is about numbers, but it's also not about discarding people. But the key is, this is what I'd say, in order for us to be successful in anything, we must not be attached to anybody for the result that we're out to create. So what I mean by that is this. I've seen so many people, and I've been caught in the same trap, where it's kind of like we're trying to get too much out of too few, or we might take counsel from the wrong people. Well, listen, if you want to be a teacher, go learn and talk to some teachers who are really great in their trade. If you want to be a doctor, go interview some doctor people. But if you want to learn how to earn residual income working from home, creating a life by design no matter where you live, talk to somebody like me who's done it, and also people who know what they're doing. So this is what I mean by not being attached to anybody in particular, but being careful on what counsel you take. It's really clear on that, because if you get attached to anybody in particular, yet I'm not saying to discard people, but holding on too tight to too few, you won't be focused on the people you haven't even reached out to yet. Another key to being successful in a business is to find a system that works and fill it. Don't try to be everything to everybody. It's impossible. And become a solution finder. I learned this years ago. I was so grateful. The guy that coached me in my old company is literally one of the best of the best of the best. And forever grateful. And I learned a long time ago, there's two choices. You can be part of the solution or part of the problem. Unfortunately, most people out there are part of the problem, and that's a real dangerous place to be. So if you come to the mindset of going, listen, how can I become a solution finder? The world, the economy, whatever it might be, might say the marketplace pays us very well to solve problems. But often solving those problems, folks, has us needing to be outside the box. So I'm inviting you to step outside the box a little bit. And when you step outside the box, you find a support team and a business buddy, and you connect with a running mate to run in alignment to what you're doing in your life and what you're up to create, whether it's residual income, making a difference, whatever it is that lights your heart up. Just find a running mate and a good support partner. A key thing I learned, probably would have been starting when I was living in Germany back in 91, was concepts are constant and techniques vary. Okay, so I was working with an American firm at that time, and we had just opened up Germany, and I was hearing all the Germans say, oh, well, that's fine, but not in Germany. We don't do that in Germany. That's not in Germany. And I started to agree with them for a little while. And then I realized, I thought, you guys still wear shoes, you still wear pants, you still wear shirts, you still go to restaurants. You just might do them a little bit different than us. You might wear German-style pants or a German-style shoe or a German restaurant, but you're still eating, you're still putting clothes on, and you're still doing the basics that we do in Canada and the States. You're just doing them a little bit different. So the concepts of basic human needs never change, but the techniques that we do vary. So what I've learned over time, as I've said earlier, I've worked in 14 countries. This isn't my first time to the rodeo. But the fact is, mediums change and countries might, but the basic human relationships will always stay the same. So the basic human needs, wants, and desires are always there. So how do we learn to change our message to the appropriate medium that we're using? Well, this is where we have to become flexible. And that's something that I think people learn, especially when you're from a small town, in my opinion, that obviously that's a place I can speak true from my heart, is learning to be flexible yet still create a result. And that is something that we need to really do in today's world. Another key point here is to get thick skin but not cynical. So you need to learn to run your own race. Run the race that you're here to run. In today's society, we're very trained on running against people, competing against others. How else would I say it? Stepping on other people to get to where we have to go. Well, that's not a really fun place to live, is it? That's not a good energy to be around. And I'm not saying to sit back and expect life to hand it to you on a silver platter. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is anybody's opinions of what you do for your career is completely just their opinion. So we don't want you to get cynical on what negatives might come your direction with anything you do. But I think the key thing here is to learn to run your own race. And I think that comes with, wisdom and age. And I'm only 49, but I've learned a lot and I've been around a lot. And if you ever get to know me personally, you'll understand that. The key thing, though, is learning to run your own race and, becoming powerful through your situations. We've all heard that before. Something could be, a speed bumper, an obstacle, or a stepping stone. Well, the fact is, whenever somebody might not agree with what we're doing, what race you're running, it's not their race, it's your race. So find a race worth running and really stay true to yourself. Another key point here, something my old business partner and friend Mark, we did this back in Heidelberg, Germany, would have been in 1992. Yeah, probably 1992 in Heidelberg, Germany. We had a bunch of people there that we were training in our company, and we gave everyone a piece of paper and a letter and an envelope, and we said, write a letter to yourself. What if you could create an ideal business that you were looking to fulfill your dreams? What would it look like? How would it feel? Just imagine if, and start thinking that way. I encourage you to take a pen and paper and write a letter to yourself. It's amazing where you'll go. Dr. Seuss was a very smart writer, right? Imagine where you'll go. You never know. Well, that's so true. So just put the pen to paper. One of my recent coachees that I've been helping has written an amazing letter of imagine about what she's up for and what she wants. The key is to take what you're up for and what you're imagining and putting realistic stepping stones along the way and not letting you get off track along the way. In order for that to do that, you really need to be leading by example and setting the pace. So leading by example is what I mean by this is going back to our previous slide is running your own race. Running the race that's true to you. Finding a way to make whatever you're up for be fitting exactly authentically to what you're committed to. And that sets the pace for your team. If you want to have a team of good, strong leaders in your business and in your life, hang out with people that are up for great things. And by doing that, you'll become great. And if you wonder, why your life might be in a bit of a flat spot, find people more empowering than you think is possible to be around and go hang around them. You'll be amazed where it can take you. And there's such amazing people sitting on our own doorsteps. We just have to find them. Have a few conversations, and that's going to really start bringing you to a place that's a very strong place for you to build your future. So when it comes to building a business, be committed to your team. The team will always be stronger than one person. I've seen so many people in my career destroy their businesses because they were selfish, because they're all about, spotlighting themselves versus spotlighting the team. Create the team you want by the person you are. So who do you want to be? What type of business partner do you want to engage in? Who do you want to be bringing into your life? What type of energy do you want your business portraying in the community? What is the long-lasting result? What's your short-term game? I'm always somebody who wants to play a very smart short-term game, but my long game, the long-term relationships will always outweigh my short-term decisions. Because I'm always very much relationship over business. That's my personality. So personal development, I learned it a long time ago. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business. If you do that, it's amazing what's going to come to you. So life is about personal development. If you're not growing, you are dying. And we're here to be growing, learning, and contributing. And if you're not doing that, if you think you're not one of those, chances are you're dying. Because you're never staying the same. So I can't, encourage you enough than to invest in personal development. As I've said earlier in this overview here, find a way to be true to yourself. It's easy to, people always say it's easy to get caught up in that rat race of keeping up with the Joneses and, somebody's got this and we need that. I'm not saying that we're not here to be blessed with great things, because we are. I know that we're here to have a blessed, abundant life. But if we're running the race to keep up to the Joneses next door, if you actually looked at the Joneses' life, you probably wouldn't want it. So just be true to ourselves in the beginning. It's amazing where it's going to take us. And be true to what you're committed to. If you know what you're committed to, you're not going to get distracted. It's easy to get distracted by the naysayers, the ones that might be the fad for the moment, and that's really a real sad place to live. So something I learned a long time ago is that we're all winning the game we're playing. The question is, what game are you playing? And is the game you're winning, is it worth being involved in? Maybe you're being involved in a game of limitations, or a game of scarcity, or a game of limited beliefs, or a game of self-sabotage. And there's always areas of all of our lives that need to be worked on, okay? That's called personal development and growing and learning and creating wisdom. But when it comes right down to it, I encourage you to reevaluate the game you're playing. Because, of course, we know we're winning the game we're playing, but is it worth winning? I think in today's world, if we're not willing to look outside the box, you see, folks, we're not stuck in today's world with the internet. Picking up phone calls are so easy and cheap now. Back when I was living in France, my phone bill back in 1993 was $3,000 a month. I'll never forget getting that phone bill. That's when money was real. That was a very real number. That was a personal/business phone line. $3,000 a month. So that's when it was really expensive to do business out of area. Now, folks, we're not limited on what we have to do in our local region. And I'm all about earning income and spending money local wherever possible, and keeping money amongst families and local businesses. But on the other hand, because of such a global market with the internet, we don't have to be so local with what we're doing. So if you're maybe you live in regional Australia, and you might be quite affected by the economy, the drought, whatever it might be that comes our ways in life, don't let your circumstances dictate your future. So the reason about tenacity is when people are from regional areas, and this is obviously a regional message and it's going to go out around the world, but I am from regional Alberta. I totally get it. I really get what it's like to have tough times. But the fact is, I also get that we don't have to be limited by our location. So I challenge you to consider looking outside the box. What would life look like if I could show you a business outside the box? Or what could you look for if you're looking for something outside the box? So if you're up for great things in your life, it all starts with a small step. The question is, are you willing to take the baby steps? It starts with hopes and dreams and common sense. It's amazing how that will take you places, far more than you're given credit for. Like when I started in Germany, if I would have rationally looked at my options, when I moved to Germany back in April of 1991, I would have been 25, almost turning 26. If you would have done a SWOT analysis on my business plan at that time, back in 1991, it wouldn't have got past the first recycling bin. But my heart was so full of hopes and dreams and common sense. I moved to Germany. I knew one person. I got all the way over there. She wouldn't even look at the business. And she says, "Don't talk to me. I don't want to know anything about it." So I was 25, just turning 26. Didn't know anybody, didn't speak German, but I knew in my heart there was something there. And I knew it so simply as this. I knew there were 300 million people in Europe. They all drank water and they breathed air, and they hadn't met Marcy yet. And sooner or later they were going to, with or without me. And you know what? That simple, naive, tenacious, authentic spirit that I had back then, and I still have a lot of that now, created me to be the number one earner in that company for 9 years in Canada, and for a short time the top woman in the world for the company, and for a long time the top woman in Europe. So that simple hopes and dreams and common sense from that small town of 1,000, I was actually raised in a town of 5 houses till I was 6, and then in a town of 100 till I was in grade 3, and then we moved to the big town of 1,000 when I was in grade 3 till grade 12. And I love that town. I've got so many dear friends from that town. But so imagine where that would have went. So we have two choices. We can either create our own dream and life or build someone else's and lose ours. If you are building someone else's, I can guarantee you are losing yours. If you wonder, how is that possible? Well, once you give up yourself and start building somebody else's dream, and I'm not saying that everything you do should be for self. I don't mean that at all. But find something that you're passionate about. Find a way to run in alignment to what you're passionate with and with that system is passionate about, and create an amazing life by design. Without boundaries, without location, and having a system to carry you so you don't have to be everything. And if you do that, you'll find yourself being fully self-expressed. You'll find yourself growing in your personal ability and the difference you make in the lives of others. And you'll find your resources grow inside of abundance because you're not going to be trying to be everything to everybody. My suggestion to everybody is choose to be tenacious and gracious. Have a consistent level in your ability. Move forward, take one step at a time. And be gracious. If when you're moving forward, if somebody says something that hurts your heart, bless them and release them. Just move forward. And yeah, things hurt, words hurt, as we know. You know, we know that very well. You know, I deal with that every day when I'm coaching people, and we all hit little roadblocks along the way. But if I could say a couple key words to take on in your life, or I've taken on very well in mine, is to be tenacious and gracious. And of course, we all have things to learn and grow and so on. I'm far from anywhere where I want to be right now, but I'm very grateful for what I have become in my past and where I'm going. So there's power in those two words. There's a lot of grace in there. So I would encourage yourself to don't undervalue what you've learned by your growing up, whether it's in regional areas or you're from a city. It doesn't matter. Think back about your core basic skills that you have. How can you bring those in alignment to create a real powerful future by design? And I want to thank you for your time. If this has brought you any value, please share it with others. If you'd like to know about myself or what we're doing with our career and the difference we're making in the lives of so many, please email me there below. I look forward to having a chat with you. And wherever you are in the world, I learned this a long time ago. People are our business. The world's our market, and treat it all with respect. So hopefully in some way I brought some value to your life. So have a great day and God bless. Bye-bye.